Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the third in our series of our seasonal webinars. Welcome to the session today. When you get yourself settled, let us know where you're watching from. I'll keep an eye on the chat. My name is Del Spafford. I'm your host for today. Welcome, Dr. Mansour. I'm your host for today, and I am based in Nonthaburi in Thailand. I'm the head of marketing for Macmillan Education Asia, and I'm going to be introducing our speaker for today in just a few minutes' time. Hi, Jinky, again. I remember you from last session. Thank you again for joining us, Teresa, Michael, and Juliana Hitomi. Welcome, everybody, and settle in for what is going to be a fantastic session, as they always are with Blue when we get to meet him soon. Let me just move that across. My chat is just coming across and distracting me. Can I do that? There we go. Okay. So what do we have for you today? So we have for you a masterclass, which is part of our 2025 teacher growth journey. So this teaching masterclass, as I said, is going to be brought to you by Blue in a moment. And he will be able to explain everything that he's going to do. We've had a webinar last Thursday that Blue, Super, and myself were involved in, and then Super delivered a webinar back on Monday. And if you want to watch these, you can. They are all available on the website. You will receive a thank you email after today's session where you can share the recording with your friends. You'll get the PowerPoints, you'll get the resources that we've been giving you for the past few days. So today's session, as I said, is a masterclass. It's a teaching lesson. It's going to be full of practical ideas that you can take away and use in your classes. Blue's going to be talking predominantly about culture today. So this will be transferable across any level that you're teaching, I am sure. And I'm sure Blue will be guiding you through that. On Thursday, we have a very special session where we're going to be joined by Giselle. Giselle works for BFITS in Thailand, and she's a very experienced teaching center manager, an all-round manager of ELT. And she's going to be talking to me about management issues, particularly around student outcomes, student engagement, and learning outcomes as well. So please join us for our fourth session on Thursday as well. As always, you will get a certificate. Please look out for your certificate. This will also be in the thank you email. If you don't receive a certificate, you can also get in touch and we'll be able to send you one along. But we haven't had any problems so far, so we don't envisage any problems with you receiving your certificates. If you are wanting to keep up to date with all teaching issues across our global community, you can scan the QR codes here. The one on the left is our Facebook, which we promote all our webinars, not just for the region, but for the, as I said, the global webinars as well. And you can also follow us on WeChat, where we'll be providing you with all our information as well. So let's invite Blue onto the stage. Are you there, Blue?
I am. Hello, Del. Hello, everyone.
How are you today, Blue?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
And just tell everybody where you are.
I am in Ho Chi Minh City.
Very nice. Is
Vietnam.
it nice? Is the weather nice?
Yeah, I went out for a slice of pizza at lunch, and the weather was good, as was the pizza.
Pizza for lunch. What topping?
Meat, just a plethora of different meats.
And meat lovers, yeah.
It very much was a meat lover's delight.
Where are you? Where are you on the debate between pineapple on pizzas?
Yeah, no problem with it whatsoever. It's fine. If you're gonna have pineapple, why not plop it on a pizza?
I'm the same. I'm exactly the same. I love a Hawaiian. Very nice indeed. And I
No
believe you
problem.
are actually going to be talking a little bit about food in your session today. Is that right?
Wow, that was nicely linked in, Derek Spafford, because I am indeed. Today, guys, we're going to be looking at culture and primarily tying in with food all around the world. So that's what we're going to be looking at, Del.
Excellent. Well, it's as if I already knew that you were going to be
No,
doing that. But I will
superb.
leave the floor to you. I will come back afterwards because we're also going to have Blue's going to show you some a lesson using some of our Macmillan resources, and I'm going to give you a showcase of these resources at the end of today's session, which we'll tell you about in a moment. But please have a lovely session. If you've got any questions, put them in the Q&A or in the chat. I'll be following along, and I'll ask Blue those questions, and we'll get answers to them at the end. Have a great session, Blue. I'll see you later.
Cheers, Del. Yeah, thank you for being here, everybody. I hope you're going to be looking forward to the next hour plus with me as we go through one of our exciting new primary books and series here at Macmillan Education, Share with Friends. And as Del and I tediously went through there, we're looking at culture, and this lesson is very much tied up with food. So from textbooks to traditions, teaching culture through English. As ever, this is all about you guys. So feel free to interact with me in the chat. I'll keep my eye on it as best as I can. But please do interact. It does make the session a lot more vibrant and atmospheric, especially when I'm in this room by myself. Okay. So yeah, today's lesson, as I mentioned, Share with Friends, an exciting new series from us guys here at Macmillan Education. It's American English. In terms of levels, you're looking at 7, and it hovers around the pre-A1 to A2 level. Now, in terms of what does it deliver, it's all about getting students to speak confidently. Also, it's a big advocate for social emotional learning, developing values, creating that empathetic classroom environment as well. And also, you guys as educators, as teachers, do not fret and fear because it comes with significant resources, really nice, effortless to use teacher plans and guidance as well. So that's what we're going to be using today. But again, as Del mentioned, tailor this according to any book or series you might be using in your classroom, any level you might be teaching in your classroom as well. So we're going to be looking at Share with Friends 3, Unit 2. And here is today's lesson. Now, as you can see, it's heavily pixelated for a very important reason. I don't want you to see it yet. I will guide you through the lesson bit by bit, but I will give you the content of what is inside the lesson today. Now, it comes from our shared world, which is the area of a particular unit in Shared with Friends, which celebrates culture around the world, as you can probably guess from the title. In terms of today's content, we are looking at the following. Primarily, the focus is on reading and speaking in today's lesson. It focuses on the idea of exploring school lunches and how around the world, culturally, they're all different and unique. And it also encourages students to compare what they might eat in their lived experience whilst at school and engage in discussions of how it might differ to those students around the planet. So that's the content of today's lesson, in which I will be formulating piece by piece, bit by bit, a lesson plan. Now, my lesson objectives. I want my students at the end of this lesson to be able to read and understand the text about the school lunches, identify cultural differences between what they eat and the traditions, the structure of what is a school lunchtime, and also compare and contrast those lunch habits. So within what I believe are the objectives of the book, I myself as a teacher also have my expectations of what I consider to be a successfully ran class. Now, I want my students to be active participants. I want there to be numerous opportunities to reinforce the reading, the pronunciation, the new vocabulary, practicing, reinforcement. It's key. I want to create contextual and personable understanding so students can relate to what is on that page in front of them, even though it might differ completely to what they do at school at lunchtime. I want it not to be teacher focused, but very much to be teacher guided and student centered in terms of the learning journey. Of course, I want the students to be chatting away and for myself to zip up this with less TTT and more STT. And at the end of this, again, tie it up with a bun, cherry on top. I want my lesson to be engaging, atmospheric, and memorable. That to me is my expectations of what are considered to be a successful lesson. So what is important before we begin this lesson plan? It would be nice for you to have some understanding of the journey that in this particular class, the students have gone on. And it all begins, of course, with the opener of the unit. So in this particular unit, we're looking at healthy food. So you've got exposure to new vocabulary here, new grammar structure as well, okay? 2 grammar lessons within a particular unit. And then, of course, all you've got that encompassed into a story, and then also the CLIL. This CLIL lesson in this particular unit focuses on healthy eating, nutrition, and that sort of thing as well. And then at the end of the unit, nicely tied together with a project. So that all fits in nicely to all of the unit and what it encompasses leading up to this reading and culture lesson. So let's begin with a warmer, of course. Now, as you can see in the corner there, I have noted books are closed. And to me, that's very important because I don't want my students, not that I don't want them jumping ahead. I firmly encourage them to open the book at home and explore the content of the book at home. But for the particular lesson, what I want to do is I want to lead my learning and lead my teaching without depending on the book's content to look at, but lifting the content from said book in order to deliver before we even open and engage with the book's content in terms of, aesthetically and looking at it. So what would I do as a warmer? Now, this is one of my tried and tested activities, which I really enjoy. I think I've shared it before, but I'm going to share it one more time with you right now. Now, you will be participating in this, everybody. So please follow my instructions clearly in a moment. Be unique. You can play as a pair or as an individual in the classroom. You give your students a question. The students have to write one answer to your question. So you might give out pieces of paper, a whiteboard, laminated paper. That is a whiteboard, okay? Now, all players reveal their answers. If their answer is unique and different, they win 1 point. So let's give you an example. So Mr. Blue says, name a yellow fruit. And my students in my class say banana, 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 and pineapple. Now, the 3 bananas receive 0 points. But of course, the unique answer of pineapple receives 1 point. So basically, the idea is you're unlocking known vocabulary right here. Okay, you want to see what your students know before you deliver the lesson. So let's give it a go. So here are the rules for you. Yeah, again, if you get the same answer as me, you also win a point. So you can even gamify it further, give an extra stipulation to it as well. If you get the same answer as the teacher, just that extra caveat could really engage the students in the activity. So I'll ask you guys at home a question. Have your answer ready in the chat, but do not press send until I count you down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. And then again, it's going to be messy in the chat. But as an example, I hope you can see how it would work in the classroom. Okay. You're going to look at the chat, scroll through the chat and see if your answer is unique. Okay. So here's my question for you. Again, do not send it until I prompt you and tell you to send it. It won't work, but we can try. Okay. Here we go. Tell me a fruit that has 5 letters in its name. Tell me a fruit that has 5 letters in its name. Everybody's Googling 5-lettered fruit words. You've got 10 seconds, students. Tram dang, you've got 10 seconds. Do not send it yet. But good answer. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, send. See, a lot of apples there. It's not very unique, is it, ladies and gentlemen? Guava. I see a lot of guavas, but I respect that. Grape, peach. What else have we got in the chat? Can I lychee, 6, Nafa. So close. Mango, lemon. Lemon's good, actually. I only see one lemon. One lemon. So, Che-in, I think you might have rewarded yourself 1 point there. Well done. You get the idea, guys. In the classroom, take your time. Manage it accordingly. Have students reveal their answer one by one to increase that tension and excitement. But it's a really nice activity to sort of, again, it's not new vocabulary, it's known vocabulary. But basically, you're encouraging your students not to go directly for that easy answer, but think a little bit differently. You get the idea, okay? And I think lemon, I think I'm going to give 1 point for that. Cool. Okay, and let's do one more example of a warmer, okay? Now this one's called Give Me a Clue, okay? One student will come to the front of your classroom. Behind that student, there will be one word that they have to guess. All other students will offer a one-word clue. Now, this isn't hot seat. This isn't back to the board. They can't just scream out sentences and words. It's a little bit different. So let's say, for example, the word behind me is banana, okay? Now, each student on their board will write one word, just one word, to describe to me the word behind me. Now, as you can see from my example on the screen, you're going to get, again, those students that give the obvious. Yellow, fruit, monkey, yellow again. So you might have 13 of your 28 students give you the word yellow. But again, what you're hoping your students can do is open up their mind and connect a number of different words that aren't just yellow, monkey, and fruit. Long, healthy, sweet, smooth. So let's try it now, okay? But I do need a volunteer. Do I have any volunteers? Let's see. Ha ha! Del Spafford, if you wouldn't mind turning on your camera, please, sir. And Mike.
Oh, you didn't tell me this was coming.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. This part was not planned. Okay.
Uh-oh.
So, Del, in a moment, I'm going to ask you, please, to close your eyes. Okay. In a moment, you're going to close your eyes, and everybody in the chat will give you a one-word clue to the word that they see on the screen. When I tell you to open your eyes, I want you to scroll through the chat and guess what the word is.
Roger that.
Okay, good man.
Okay, my eyes
Here
are
we go.
closed. Tell me when
Eyes
I
are closed. Okay, eyes are closed, Del. Thank you. So, guys, in the chat, can you give Del a one-word clue to what you can see on the screen right now? Okay. Keep them closed, Del.
They're closed, tightly closed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Del, can you have a look through the chat, please?
I can open my eyes.
You can open, yeah, that would help. Open your eyes, mate. Look through the chat and have a guess what the item was, the object was.
Oh, it's easy. Okay, I got it.
Yeah?
Thorny, smelly, expensive, tropical, smelly, sweet, yellow. Okay. It's
Thorny,
a
I like that.
durian.
Yeah, easy peasy.
There you go.
So, guys, thanks, Del. Thank you.
My pleasure.
So, guys, those are two really easy to implement warmers that are both fun, engaging, and give you a general idea of what vocabulary your students have, the untapped vocabulary, and anything related to what you're about to teach in the lesson. So here's the start of my lesson plan. I'm not going to dwell on this too long because I'm conscious of time. And also, you will get a copy of this at the end. The full PDF of the lesson plan breakdown will be available straight away for you to take home, I guess. So in terms of warm-up, class activities, be unique and give me a clue. And what you might notice, I've done a few hashtags. I've done them for one particular purpose, guys. And that is, again, you're going to take this away, and I want you to remember these activities. So the purpose of these hashtags is just to remind you the significance, the importance, and the why of why these are useful to implement in the class, okay? So let's begin. And as you can see in the corner, it still says books are closed. And yet the first task in the book will be done with that book closed. And it's a discussion. I want my students to discuss the following. What did you eat for lunch yesterday at school? Let's hope you don't do this lesson on a Monday. So what I would do is the following. My objectives. I want my students to use their English, of course, as much as possible. I want them to illustrate the correct tense here in terms of simple past, yesterday. And I want them to interact with one another and mingle. So I'm going to turn this into a mingling activity. So I'm going to use some of these. I'm going to utilize post-it notes, sticky notes, whatever you might wish to call them. I'm going to hand out a number of them around the classroom, all different colors, to my students. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to take one post-it note and they're going to write their name on the post-it note. Bow. They're going to write the name of the student they speak to, Sam. And they're going to write, Bow is going to write the answer about Sam. Sam, what did you eat yesterday at lunch at school? Sam ate a cheese sandwich. There you go. Now, once Bow has finished talking to Sam, he's going to take that post-it note and stick it on the board like this. So in the end, after maybe 5 minutes, 8 minutes, students will have a number of different post-it notes with their names on. Now, you, the teacher, at random, you will close your eyes and you will randomly take a post-it note. You will read out the name of the student who wrote it. Bao wrote this about Sam. You're going to pass it to Bao, and he's going to read it to the class, okay? That student who reads will receive 1 point. You can continue this activity for the next 8, 9, 10 minutes. It's really easy, not to manipulate, but to control, okay? The students want to win more points, so they're happy to engage with the activity. You keep randomly taking the post-it notes. They hope it's theirs for them to read and receive the point, okay? And of course, the student with the most pieces of paper, the most post-it notes at the end of your 10 minutes is the winner. Now, again, I love this because it's really simplistic. Basically, you're asking your students to mingle around and talk. But again, they need that extra kick up, you know, the backside sometimes, don't they? And in order for them not just to simply sit down and go, teacher, finished, after 3 minutes, you added that gamified experience where you're saying, hey, the more you do, the more you stick on the board, the higher chance you have of winning the game. You can do this by teams, you can do it as individuals, but it's a really nice way to get your students discussing, mingling together, and then sharing answers with the rest of the class as well. Brilliant. You can get a good 15, 20 minutes out of this one task, which otherwise could have taken 2, 3 minutes. Now, guys, as I go through this, feel free to throw in your 2 cents as well. Feel free to let me know your opinion about what you would do for each particular task. I'm always keen to learn different viewpoints and also borrow your ideas for future sessions. So on the lesson plan, that class mingle activity goes down. And in terms of hashtags, I put student interaction, active listening, writing and spelling, and reward as well. Okay. Again, the more they stick on the board, the higher chance and probability they have of winning the points. So that takes us on to task 2 in the book, which says read and listen to the magazine article. Now, as I mentioned, this is predominantly a reading lesson. It's text heavy, okay? But Again, I'm one of those teachers that like to take the text and maybe use it in different ways and see how we can recycle it for different particular skills. So here, I wouldn't say read. What I would do at the beginning is I would do some predicting and speculating before we even begin the reading part of the lesson. So the books are closed. Now, this is really useful in terms of the cognitive and linguistic benefits, such as we're going to activate that prior knowledge. Hopefully, it increases engagement as well. It encourages your students to think outside of the box and think critically, making inferences and not being scared about making mistakes because they're just guessing. Hopefully, they interact as well and they use it as an opportunity to speak. And it turns the reading into an active process because in a moment you are going to predict something. And then, of course, like your student in the class, you want to then read the text to check if your answers were correct. So instead then of reading being a passive engagement and process, it becomes very much more active and it gives a firm reason and purpose for your students to enjoy the reading and sort of be connected to the text itself. So, yeah, and again, this final piece as well I forgot about. Hopefully, it makes the whole experience of reading a little bit more low stress, a little bit more of a fun, relaxed experience. So, guys at home, ladies and gentlemen, I have 5 dishes here, or I should put it a different way. 5 packed lunches or 5 lunches at school around the world. In the chat, very quickly, write down the number and what country you believe this school lunch represents. Again, I'll give you 30 seconds. You don't have to do all of them. Maybe you know number 4, so you write number 4. Maybe you think you have a good guess about number 3, so write number 3. But can you write down the country of where you believe this particular dish and school lunch originates from? We've got Anna, who says number 2, Spain. A few Japans for number 3. Number 4, India. So as you can see, you're just guessing, but you're guessing with logic. You're guessing with reason. And hopefully in the classroom, there's that ample opportunity for your students to discuss and share. Pair them up, group them up, have them agreeing with each other, have them disagreeing with one another. And then, of course, when you reveal the answers, there's a reason for them to be connected to the text and find out. So, guys, you've got some good, I know, Francois, I agree, some really nice school lunches. Trust me, none of these are from the UK. Yeah, school lunches were not the best lunches. So, what you might do is you might give a few clues, okay? So here, I chose this one because I thought this one was the trickiest for you guys, and you guys are smart, aren't you? So I'm going to give you a few clues and see what you think. Here's clue number 1. This country is in South America. Clue 2, it begins with the letter C. Clue 3, that's its flag. Mauricio, fastest fingers there. Chile, not quite. Tram, try again, mate. That's a good guess. So you might, Jinky, it told me not quite. Canada, not quite. A little bit further south than Canada. But some of you are correct as well in the chat. It was Colombia. So there you go. Even before, again, we've opened the book. We've got our students connected to the topic of what they're about to read about. Also looking at these dishes just in terms of the image and going, whoa, they eat that in Spain. They eat that in India. That's very different to the pho that I eat in Vietnam or the peanut butter and jelly sandwich that they eat in America. So again, all of that can create engagement and a bit of chit chat between students. Good guesses, thank you. Also, in terms of predicting and speculating, I will take it one step further. With those images, what I would want my students to do is using just purely the picture that they can see, write down what food they think is included in the dish. So as a pair, as a group, they would jot down that they think this dish from Spain, paella, rice, vegetables, seafood. Japan, soup, fish, rice. Colombia, what do we think? So forth and so forth. So in terms of predicting and speculating, there's a number of different layers you can add, not just in terms of identifying the food and its location, but also what is the food itself. Those keywords in the text that students will, in a moment, go and explore, find out, see if there's a connection, see if they're correct. So in terms of a pre-reading task, I think predicting and speculating, you can't go wrong. It's going to get everybody on board and get everybody interested and anticipating what content is in that reading text. And as you can see my hashtags there, have a read, not about being right or wrong, discussion, agree or disagree. And it creates that intrigue, doesn't it? I hope. And again, you can layer that as well. Based off the images, guess what food? So before, again, we open the book, we're not quite there. You can do some sorting as well, where basically you're going to take strands and pieces of the text from the book, like this. And all you want your students to do, ladies and gentlemen, is to connect the strand of information to the country, to the dish, to the cultural structure of what is a school dinner in that particular country. Similar to the predicting, it's not about being right or wrong. All this is about is comprehending the sentences themselves and then simply having a guess. But the key thing here as a teacher, as an educator, what you're looking for is comprehension of the sentences that you've given the students. Because again, we're breaking it down, okay, in order to then bring it and piece it back together when we open the book. So students would then just, again, maybe have a guess there and say paella is a typical lunch. They don't know that word paella, I'm pretty sure, but why not have a guess to what country it might belong to? Now there, I think I've made a mistake, haven't I? Japan eat meat, rice, beans, potatoes, and vegetables. Now, hopefully the image directs me that I could be wrong there. So maybe I give it a move anyway. Okay. But you get the idea. You're layering nice and slowly. You're building your students' confidence by doing the reading even before you do the reading. Now, finally, you've got that read and listen. Now, again, this is where I would take a one word away from this task. And that word is read. I would actually utilize and use this opportunity for your students to do a little bit of active listening as well. So before we actually open and read, I would play the audio of the text that's in the book for students to see if their sentences were correct and they matched it up accordingly. What they can then do after they've listened is open the book for further comprehension by reading and checking. They can quickly scan the text to see if their sentence was correct, if they didn't quite get the answer the first time with their listening. So in terms of pre-reading, you've got that sorting, and then you've got the listening to check their answers and the read and check once that book is open. So we're finally there, guys. We are finally at the open your book stage. There you go. Now, this is the lesson that we've been looking at without looking at it. What's for lunch? And as you know, these are the countries we've been looking at. Now, what I would do here is I would get my students to do some pair reading. Feel free to answer this question in the chat, everybody. I'm going to give you my suggestions, but how do you get your students to actively participate in pair reading? I'm going to throw a few examples to you in a moment. As I do that, I would love to read some of your ideas in the chat as well. So take your time, formulate your answer clearly, share it with us, because it's always appreciated hearing different educators around the world. So, of course, we're going to try and gamify the experience. I want my students to be enjoying this. I want there to be a purpose and a goal and a reason to do it. And I want my students to feel challenged by doing the reading in the book. So the first activity I'm going to share with you is echo reading. Echo reading. Echo reading. One student reads a sentence or paragraph out aloud, and their partner echoes it back, mimicking the pronunciation and intonation. Looks a little bit like this. Student A on the left, the gentleman, the young boy. A lot of Colombian student finish school at 12:30. And it'll be echoed back by Nancy, who's read it correctly. A lot of Colombian students finish school at 12:30. Thank you for your help, Nancy. Jinky in the chat. Thank you, mate. You have written one sentence for each, reading, yeah, alternating. Brilliant. Works well. Keeps your students focused as well, because often you will get that, where am I? Is it my turn? Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Jinky. It's appreciated. So yeah, echo reading, really simple, but just getting your students to, in a fun way, correct one another's mistakes, okay? Helps with fluency. And again, that sort of key phrase there, low pressure way. Another thing you can do is switch and summarize. One student reads a sentence or paragraph. The same student will then summarize what they read. Their partner can correct or add missing details. So here, Nancy, she says, I remember that they eat lots of meat and vegetables in Colombia. And the young lad, the boy, he says, oh, don't forget rice too. So again, just that active engagement between one another, making sure you're giving each student a reason to be involved. If they're not reading, what can they be doing? They can be actively listening to their partner, correcting, helping, really sort of helping the teacher in terms of everybody's learning journey, that collaboration in the classroom. Francois, apologies, sorry, if this has been mentioned already, just for perspective. How many students in your classes? Francois, I think I did put it on the first template for the lesson plan. Forgive me, I can't remember the number I put. But honestly, I could have put 50, I could have put 35. 28, Bradley, you're good listening, Bradley. I did say, didn't I, 28, but I don't know what I put on the template for the lesson plan. But regardless, gentlemen, all of these activities, I'd like to think they are bespoke and they can be tailored accordingly to realistically a class of intimately 10 students to a class of 30 or 40, particularly the mingling activities. Okay, but of course, there's always exceptions and there's always measures as a teacher that you might have to take in order to make something fit. 40, yeah, that's a nice round number. I like 40, particularly in Vietnam where I am. 40 seems to be that average. Yeah, we'll go with that. All right, where was I? Yeah, and switch and summarize encourages, again, comprehension and active listening. All this time, all that reading, you're encouraging your students to comprehend the information that's being given to them and what they're reading as well. Question and answer reading, pretty self-explanatory. After each section, one student asks a question about what was given. So there, the boy says, do they eat rice in Japan? And is this a useful webinar? And Nancy says, yes, and double yes. Okay, so again, really simple. I'm sure you do these in the class anyway. We're not reinventing the wheel here, gentlemen, ladies, but really effective tasks that you could be doing. Critical thinking there, comprehension, of course, as well. And the last one I'd like to share with you, beyond comprehension, is more just repetition, regurgitation, okay? Making sure that they're finessing their pronunciation, their delivery, and they're not just reading the text and going, teacher finished, but they're recycling, they're repeating, they're using again. Now, I love this one, rock, paper, scissors. We all know this game. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to maybe print out and give your students a map of the reading text that looks like this, okay? The two students will, of course, play rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Now, whoever wins. So here, the girl has got rock, the boy has got paper. Paper beats rock. And I think I've messed this animation up. I knew it as soon as I clicked it. So there, paper beats rock. So the boy will move on to the first piece of reading text. He will read it. Again, once he's read it, they're going to repeat rock, paper, scissors. Read it. Next one, repeat. Of course, it's pretty self-explanatory, isn't it, guys? The first student to get to the finish is the winner. Now, again, as a teacher, I would say you have to manage this one, okay? because you're going to get students to just go in rock, paper, scissors, shoot, no reading. So as long as it's managed correctly and the students are doing the reading piece bit by bit, it can be repeated again and again, and you can get a good 15 minutes out of this. Jinky, you have said, I like how you try to get everyone involved in your plan. At least they go home having a chance to say a word. Yeah, for sure. All my lessons, I think, have to be student-centered. My background's predominantly in language center teaching, 15, 16 years. And I always felt bad for students in Vietnam in classrooms, in public schools of 40 students plus, where they didn't get that opportunity to share. So breaking down that barrier of being worried and scared about sharing is so important. So yeah, give your students ample opportunity to speak, even in which is, as I said, predominantly a reading lesson. There you go. Now, lesson plan again, we've got a bit about echo reading, switch and summarize, the question and answer, and the rock, paper, scissors. And again, if I'm going too fast through the lesson plan, do not fret. You will have the opportunity to download this in about 20 minutes time. So here we've got a glossary, guys. Now, glossaries are super useful, and whether that be a primary book, teenage book, adult-oriented book, always useful for those words that might not translate or might not be known, but very much useful to the context in which you are teaching. Now, I looked at this glossary and I thought, well, I haven't really done anything in the past with it, but what could we do? If I was looking to be adventurous, what could we do with a glossary? It got me thinking, let's create our own glossary. So I put my thinking cap on and I thought, what could we do? And I thought maybe we could think of a famous dish or food from your country. I'm going to try and define it in simple terms. Okay. Maybe my classmates have never eaten or tasted this food. Because, of course, in your class, I'm sure most of your students, if not all of your students, are from the same country. But they can still define a food as if it's part of a glossary. So I'm going to do that with you guys right now. I'm going to define a food from my country, the UK. I'm from England. And if you know it, in the chat, just guess what it could be, okay? Here we go. Well, in a moment, you're going to do this as well, not just me. So think of a famous dish food from your country, write a definition for it, allow other people in this webinar to guess what the dish is. This is my example for you guys now. So this is my example. This dish is made with cooked lamb, vegetables, and gravy, covered with mashed potatoes and baked in the oven. It's a very famous dish from the UK, often eaten in the winter when it's cold outside, but you want to warm your insides up. Mauricio, Jinky, we've got lamb pie and roast dinner. Mauricio, you're not wrong, sir. You're not wrong. Any other guesses, guys? Thank you, Jinky and Maurizio. Let's have a few more. Vanitha, shepherd's pie. Yeah, well done. Maurizio, you can see why you're not wrong now, because it's called shepherd's pie, but it pretty much is a lamb dish. It just with potato on top, oven baked. It's delicious. Yeah, one of my favorites. One dish I do miss from the UK. So, guys, you're going to do this right now. The glory of us being here in this virtual webinar is the fact that we're all from different places. So in a moment, I'm going to give you a QR code for Padlet, okay? I want you to jump over to the Padlet and define a food, any dish, and we'll guess what dish it is. Let's see if this works, okay? I'm going to put the link for the QR, the link for the Padlet in the chat as well. So bear with me 1 second. So go to the QR code, but if not, I'm going to put it in the chat. There you go. Click on that, guys. I'll leave the QR code there for that handsome gentleman in the middle. Click on the Padlet link. Hopefully, I will see a number of you over there in about 30 seconds. And I want you to define a food that we can then guess what it could be. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this screen. I'm going to share my Padlet screen in the hope that some of you are over there. Fingers crossed. Please, please. How many do we have in there? Okay, a few. Food glossary. I'm going to give you about 30, 40 seconds. I'll make some small talk. But yeah, again, if you're unfamiliar with Padlet, I do apologize. I didn't really explain it that well. Yeah, well, Shamini, that's fantastic. I'm going to read this, but before I read Shamini's, yeah, just double click on the screen of Padlet and then type away. Yeah, and then I think the word is publish in the corner for it to be submitted on the Padlet page itself. Shamini, I'm going to start with yours if you don't mind. It consists of fragrant rice cooked in coconut milk, served with spicy, flavorful chili paste, crispy anchovies, roasted peanuts, hard-boiled fried egg, refreshing slices of cucumber. Guys, again, if you've got any guesses to this, you can add your comment to the glossary definition. Quirky salamander. This is a Vietnamese noodle soup with a rich, fragrant broth made from beef bones and lemongrass. I know this one. It features thick rice noodles and tender slices of beef. Good definition. All right, guys, I'm going to give you a little bit longer. You get the idea. I don't want to dwell on this because, again, I am, aware of the time. And again, in the classroom, it doesn't have to be Padlet. Basically, give your students a piece of paper, a pen, but encourage them. Give a glossary, give a definition to a food in their country and see if their classmates can guess it from the definition, the glossary. Again, it's just something throwaway in a lesson, which can be easily dismissed, but I think, hey, let's do something with it. Guys, I'm loving these. A Durban originated dish. So we've got a South African with us as well, served in a hollowed out loaf of white bread. Bunny chow. So again, I'm loving this interaction, guys. Countries all coming together. Nasi lemak biryani. What about the Vietnamese dish, guys? Can anyone guess from that thorough and clear definition? Dal. It's made of eggs, flour, salt, and milk, baked at a high temperature with sausages. Dal, I know that because it's one of my personal favorites. A good old toad in the hole. Cool. Guys, I'm loving this. I apologize if I now disappear from this screen. You get the idea. You can jump back in later if you want and have a guess. Bumblehware, fur, valiant bear. Lovely. But you get the idea. Use that glossary. You can get a good 10 minutes out of students guessing definitions that their students offer. And it gives them a good idea of what the purpose and the purpose it serves of what a glossary is as well. All right, guys, let me jump back in. Did that work? Yeah, there we go. Oh, the things you have to control when you're jumping from screen to screen. So on the lesson plan, a little bit of writing incorporated into this reading lesson. Wonderful stuff. You're encouraging your students to be creative, making writing fun, hopefully, but also you're putting it back into culture, aren't you? Because you're asking them to define a food from their country. And class size, yeah, 28 I put. Yeah, I did put 28. Wonderful. So I put here, it is what it is, because we've come to that stage in the lesson where I believe my students have been very active learners, engaged in the lesson so far. Now there's a little bit of chill time, maybe. They've got a chart to complete. Now this chart in question asks them nice and simply, I hope at this point, just to put a country's name in something that fits according to the text they've read. And by this point, I hope it should be easy for them because we've repeated a number of times. I'd like to think the reinforcement's been there. So I'd use this as pair work opportunity. And I would also task students to add their country to the list. So here in Vietnam, do they eat lunch at school or at home? Is it a big lunch or a small lunch? So that's also something you can do to add a little bit meat onto the bone of this task. Ask them about their own country and where it would fit in each column. And again, you might peer check and compare answers as well, and then feedback to the class as a whole. What you might do as well is this last question here, guys. It says, what is the same and what is different about your school lunch? Now, again, it's one of those questions at the end of a lesson that is super important, but can often be dismissed by teachers because it's almost not attached to a task. It's almost just there as an added bonus, it's seen a lot of the times. But for me, this is where the worth of the lesson is. This is the cherry on top, because this is where your students are going to answer that question that I posed at the start as one of my objectives, making sure they can make connections between the lesson, the content, and their culture and their lived experience. So what I would do is I would help them. I would scaffold this with some significant support. I would give them a template and say, hey, use any of the structured paragraphs from the book and just use that as a template to tell me about your country. So I've just taken Japan as my example here. And I would do this. I would get my students to present their information to the class by changing, but keeping it personable. So England. In England, students also eat schools. Students also eat at schools. Students don't eat schools. And eat their big lunch in their school hall. They take their trays of sausages, mash, peas, and a carton of milk to their tables. Students eat from 12:05 to 12:50. Now, I had to go back 35 years to remember that information, but I'm pretty sure my primary school had lunch from 12:05 to 12:50. But yeah, it was a long time ago. So yeah, that again, the bits might need moving. You're going to have to go help around and assist students, but hopefully using that template that's already there in the book, they can display further comprehension and understanding by just simply substituting words, making it personable to their lived experience, reading it to the class, and then keeping everybody involved. You can have your class either agree with them or disagree based on what they're saying. No, in Vietnam, we don't eat lunch at 12:05. We eat lunch at 12:20, blah, blah, blah. So again, just keeping everybody actively involved and turning that final question into a mini task, a mini project to present to their peers. So chart completion, pair work and peer check-in maybe. A little bit of student downtime, a little bit of time to relax, an opportunity for teacher I've put there. It's a really good opportunity for you, the teacher, to make your way around the room and focus on the individual needs that might need to be focused upon. And that last task, write in and present to class, template and change, I have called it. Reinforcement of everything that has gone before that in that lesson, scaffolding with the template of support, personalization, and personally, I like to use this analogy all the time, don't I? It's the cherry on top of what we've been working towards in this lesson. So, lesson plan. Where is it? It's right there. Please scan that QR code, guys, and immediately you can download the lesson plan that we've just gone through, really. So I'll leave it up there for a few seconds. Again, as Del mentioned at the beginning, if you've got any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or just in the chat. But now just take that time to scan that QR. Dolores in the back, have you still got the link that I sent to you? If you wouldn't mind sharing that in the chat as well. I'll try and find it as well. There you go, guys. It's in the chat as well for you. But yeah, that is all from me. Del made this point again at the beginning. I will reinforce it. This was Share with Friends, a series we're really excited about here at Macmillan Education. But by all means, this can be tailored. This can be played around with. And hopefully you will find a way to make it work for whatever lesson you might be teaching your students. So have fun.
Thank you so much, Blue. Excellent as always. Yeah, really, really lovely lovely ideas. I'm always a willing participant when it comes to your sessions because I learn so much as well, and I can take these away. Um, yeah, I mean, there was a question earlier about classroom size, and I think you answered it quite nicely. But I think all of these, this is something that we see across the region, is that teachers are generally have large class sizes. So, is there any advice you would give to teachers who might be reluctant to try different activities with a larger class?
Yeah, so as you can see, a lot of my stuff is student centered,
Yeah,
and often it can be problematic when you haven't got space. But even Passover routines where pieces of paper might get passed from student to student, or look forward, look to behind you, look to your left, look to your right. Any of these opportunities just to be smart and use a little bit of common sense in terms of implementing something that simply can't work. Because I found that a lot in my teaching, where I find a good idea online and think in the perfect world, that'd be great to implement in the classroom. But the realities are, once my students stand up, there's nowhere for them to move.
yeah,
So if it is a case of space, if it is a case of too many students, there's always ways to make it work if tailored accordingly. And again, I'm sure there's a caveat to that that says it simply wouldn't work in this situation. And I get that. But in general, I found that just all of these can be tailored in a way which all lead to student-centered, more opportunity to speak. Even if you get that hustle and bustle in the classroom, which means you can't really focus on anything specific, but you know that 88% of your class are using their English with that dismissive 12%. So it's a pretty broad answer, but I hope that hit the point.
yeah. It does. I think it's yeah, like you say, in reality, in some situations, it's just not going to be worth it to try it. But I think it's all about learner training as well, or a lot of it is about learner training. So if you can start with things that are doable, that are easily doable, to show your students that you want this to be as student centered as possible, and then move on to maybe a bit more complex things. I think also about giving instructions. This is really clear that you need to give excellent instructions when you've got a large class and make sure everyone understands, and doing that in a sort of multimedia way, if you like. So giving verbal instructions, having the instructions written on the board, making sure everything is clear, that you've demonstrated everything. And then that gives you more opportunity to solve any issues that you might have with classroom management, with it being a large class, because you're not having to repair your instructions. You only got one thing to do, making sure everyone's on task. So this is often
Exactly.
forgotten, I think, and very important.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. All right. I'm just waiting. If there's any other questions, then we can give it a few more minutes to see if there's any questions that come up. And I'll give people a little heads up about what's happening now. So I'm going to take over for maybe 15, 20 minutes. And if you're interested, actually, let me just share my screen because we want your feedback more than anything as well. So here's the link for the survey. So please complete the survey. So we've got some ideas about the kind of challenges that you have actually. There's a question in the survey to ask you what challenges you have. And if that is indeed large classes, we're interested to know about this so that we can then help and support you with that further down the line. So please complete the survey. I'll put the link into the chat as well now. Hang on. And then in a moment, I'm going to take you through a showcase of the materials that Blue has presented to you, or some of the materials. So I'll take you through our new product, Share with Friends. And if you're interested in this product, then stick around and I'll show you a little bit more. We'll go into a bit more depth in the next showcase session. As I said, it's going to be between about 20 minutes long, and I can take questions as well. And you'll also have an opportunity to have someone contact you if you require that. All right, let me just check that chat again and see if there's any. All right, Blue, no other questions have come through. So if you want to, you can stick around, or I will see you later.
I'll stick around. Cheers, guys.
All right. let me just move back into my session. Give me 1 second while I organize everything. All right, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to take you through Share with Friends. I'm going to show you a very short video to start off with to hopefully get you a little bit engaged. So here we go. Oh, no, I'm not. Sorry about this. That's the other slide. Planning and preparation. Is here. Presentation mode. Sorry, I've made a mess, haven't I? Okay. Thank you for your patience. Here we go. So I'm going to show you this quick video and have a look and see what you think of this kid at a TED. It's like a TEDx youth exhibition kind of talk. So I'll be showing that to you and let me know what you think right now. Turn my sound up.
Did you know what I just did? I whispered. What was I whispering? I could be whispering an idea. The idea I just shared could change human history. The problem is, we live in a world where in some places, people can face consequences if they shared an idea their ruler didn't like. Some people still keep quiet because they are afraid that other people might not like, copy, or make fun of their ideas. In order for adults to share their ideas, it would be much easier if they did it when they were children. Study has shown that sharing ideas influences creativity. And working in a team helps because everyone has to participate in order for whatever they're working on to be successful. Sharing ideas also helps kids try new things. Kids can learn a lot by just listening and thinking about each other's opinions.
Lovely. I really like this this short clip. The whole clip is worth watching, and you can see that in the YouTube clip there. If you want to go away and watch it. But yeah, sharing is so important, and we'll look at why now. So, what do we share, and how do we do that? I'll give you a moment to think about this, and pop your ideas into the chat if you'd like to. All right, I'll give you a minute. Let's hear your ideas. I'm trying to think today of the things that I've shared with people. Definitely specific information for my family so they know what I'm doing today. I've shared information with my colleagues. We had a meeting this morning. I shared information with a delivery driver who was coming to deliver some stuff for my family. And how I did it? Well, I did it over Zoom for meetings, did it face to face, over a telephone. So lots of different ways of things that we do share and how we actually do it. Now, why is sharing important? All right, so in my case today, obviously it's important that I share to avoid any confusion. I need to get the right information to the right people. I need to share the information so that they're able to do something or that people know what they're expected to do. So there's lots of reasons why we need to share. And who do we usually share information with first? Well, this depends obviously on the person, right? So, actually, obviously depends on the information that you're sharing. But generally, if it's personal information, then I would share that with my close family and my friends. If it's information for my work, then obviously I'd be sharing that with my boss or my colleagues. So we share with lots of different people. We share lots of different information. But it makes us human to share. And as we saw in the clip, sharing ideas influences creativity and helps kids to try new things. Kids can learn a lot by listening and thinking about each other's opinions, as you said in the clip. So we're always sharing. We're sharing usually information, knowledge, ideas with all sorts of different people. Could be a piece of cake, as Blue's been adhering to in his session, the cherry on top of the cake. If it's the cherry on top of the cake, I'm definitely not sharing though, because that's always going to be mine. I love the cherry on top of the cake. And I'll leave you with this. This is a quote from a recent paper on the psychology of sharing. None of us have all the answers, but if we share with one another, we'll become better, more informed human beings. That stands to reason. And the article was actually published by our parent company, Springer Nature. It talks about something that's in our DNA. It's inside us. It's a desire to create and share the best possible English language learning material with our students and our teachers across the world. And part of this mission, a few years ago, we created a fantastic course to help children share and learn. Share It was a huge success, helped lots of children around the world to learn English better. And being so popular, Share It was used by hundreds of teachers. And we were very, very fortunate to be able to hear from those teachers. They shared what they loved about it. They shared what they wanted more of. And they shared through surveys, interviews, and observations. And today, I'm going to share with you the result of this knowledge for our brand new course, Share with Friends. So there is a 7-level course. Starter is coming in 2026, and it gets children sharing and thinking about each other's ideas as they learn English in a safe and supportive classroom. So it's got very different components to it. This has been researched. Hundreds of hours have gone into this with the teachers to see how we can make it better. So we've got speaking. So lots and lots of opportunities for children to share information with each other, first in pairs, then in small groups, and then with the whole class. And this helps them become confident speakers of English. Share with Friends is inclusive. Now, what do we mean by inclusive? It recognizes that children are different and unique in their own special ways. And we celebrate these differences in an inclusive, empathetic, and supportive classroom. This ensures everyone feels welcome and knows they are a valuable part of the group. We have success. So feeling successful and having your successes highlighted is really key to learning. If you know that you're learning, if you know that you're growing, you're more motivated to then go on and learn more. But if we don't celebrate success, we can't show our students how well they are doing. Share with Friends encourages regular reflection of their learning to identify their strengths and their needs. And it helps teachers be able to provide focused support. We help teachers. They often report to us that they don't have enough time, that their classes are large. We have this data from the teachers. We know the struggles that you have. So we've tried to create a course that supports teachers with a wealth of resources, ready lesson plans, teaching tips, professional development materials, online assessment tools. So this frees up your time so you can spend this on other activities and other parts of your teaching that are important to you. And finally, for schools that require students to take international young learner exams, Share with Friends has got you covered. It's got every unit has activities in the student's book, in the workbook, on the Me platform to help you with the Young Learner exams. It's also linked to the Advancing Achievement Partnership that we have with the British Council. So we can provide Share with Friends as a solution that meets all your teaching and assessment needs. So let's have a look in what it actually entails. Let's have a little deeper dive now into some of the ways that Share with Friends gets children speaking English with confidence. And you can read this chant to yourself. I'll read the next one to you to wake you up. So Share with Friends, as you can see, it's a really vibrant book. It's full of lovely images, both real pictures, and then we have these kind of cartoon style pictures. Each unit starts with Raya, one of the new characters. More on the characters later. They ask a question designed to activate schema, so find out what the students already know about a topic, and then get some speaking about what they already know. Vocabulary is presented in easy to understand context, help children quickly start practicing the new words. Once the students have identified the new vocabulary, they use it to ask and answer questions, and then complete the verses of a chant before chanting together. And after that, there's a TPR, total physical response activity, that helps us consolidate the new vocab. The incredibly effective and much loved grammar animations from Share It have been transferred to Share with Friends and provide students with models to start practicing the new language.
Who's this? This is my grandma.
Oh.
We then have a series of scaffolded practice activities, getting students to use the new language as they speak to each other. You may have noticed the reference to what we call the share book at the bottom of the page. Every Share with Friends student has one of these innovative, ready-to-use speaking activities that are designed to get students cooperating and collaborating as they practice the language they've just learned. You know why teachers love this, the share book? Because it saves them so much time looking for, printing and photocopying speaking worksheets. If this is something you're spending time doing, then the share book has it already covered for you. So you don't need to do all that. When we're talking about large classrooms that need classroom management, this is going to really help you. Here's an example of an engaging, collaborative student A-B style activity that gets children speaking with each other, practicing the new vocabulary and grammar in pairs. And this helps build lots of confidence, and then hopefully you can get students to speak in front of the whole class. You can see there's a little scissor up the side. I mean, you building your students on your motor skills as well, depending on how old they are. As well as covering interesting, engaging real-life topics, we have the CLIL, Content Language Integrated Learning, so learning another subject through English or learning English through another subject. We also have the project lessons. These are very well structured, allow students to share their prior knowledge and with that stuff that they want to talk about. They get to present their projects in an interesting, contemporary way. You can see here that students are asked to make a video, a fun activity that allows less confident students to practice as much as they want to before they record the final versions of their video. Let's move on to the I on look at inclusivity. In our classroom, we all belong. We're learning kindness, growing strong. The share pals show us how to care. Together we're better. Let's share. So here are our Share with Friends share pals. These are the characters that appear in the old series and also the new characters that appear in the new series. we hope that students were able to find somebody that they can identify with within these share pals. All right, so they'll be able to identify with some of the characters, and that will help them work their way through the book as well. The newest cast members are Raya and Simon. They've been incorporated in the cast to reinforce inclusion and lead class conversations inspired by activation questions. They've also been carefully designed to grow with the students. As you can see, we have a young version and an older version. So in level 1, you'll see a younger version. In level 5, level 6, it's going to be an older version of the same character. And I really like this. It becomes really nice. They get more complex. They get better at English. They ask the different kind of questions as they get older. A lot of thought has gone into these characters and how they can help students learn. Blue spoke about this earlier in the session. In fact, there's the session that Blue actually, or the material that Blue did, which is our What's for Lunch. These share the world activities are in every second unit, and they celebrate the diverse world we all share. We want students to learn about culture through their own culture and being able to compare and respect differences, but also be proud of where they're from and be able to respond to culture by respecting their differences, focusing on understanding and sharing themselves. Whether it's an activity about likes and dislikes, personal profiles, or a tip or instruction in the teacher's book, the Share with Friends continually invites students and teachers to focus on incorporating all individual likes and dislikes, all appearances, strengths, needs into the classroom environment, so that everybody, regardless of their ability, regardless of their what type of learner they are, they can thrive. They've got something there to help them and support them. Success. Let's share, let's learn, let's grow today. With Share with Friends, we'll find the way. We'll shine together and we'll care, enjoying success that we share. So let's have a look at how we celebrate success in Share with Friends. So at the end of every unit, we have these fantastic progress tracker games. They can do this alone, they can do it in groups. There's loads of different games for them to play, all designed for them to enjoy as they remember and show what they've learned in the previous unit. Students also complete profile questions at the end of every unit. These simple questions serve to celebrate individual interests and successes and help teachers identify the needs of the students based on their own feelings. Every unit includes an activity that asks children to take something home. So that could be an idea, could be a question or a task, all designed to allow families to share in their children's success as well. So as many of you will have noticed, there is a self-evaluation question at the end of every page of Share with Friends. It's not just about language and vocabulary, but also covers the values and inclusion that I discussed earlier. And this makes sure that everyone can enjoy being successful as their language learning and general learning too. Students also get access to the Navio app, which is a 3D interactive game, immersive world where they complete challenges and earn rewards. There's also fun-filled Kahoot games that have been developed for this course that they will absolutely love playing. Who doesn't like a Kahoot game? I don't know anybody that doesn't like Kahoot. And then T, we've got teachers. T is for you, for the teachers. With every step, they learn and grow. The games tools help us to show we have the plans and teach with ease. Every lesson is fun. Yes, please. So T is for teachers. Share with Friends supports teachers in multiple ways. Let me show you how. So we've got comprehensive support for teachers, as well as ready-to-use lesson plans. The Teachers Edition includes instructions for implementing inclusive practices, got warm-up, wrap-up activities, social emotional learning, classroom management, communication tips, ideas and instructions for sharing information at home. It's all there for you. It really takes a lot of the time out of preparing, planning lessons. Here's how it presents information to teachers. As you can see, each lesson has a reproduction of the student's book with the answers filled in. And around it, teachers will find all the instructions, tips, and references to the additional activities they need to teach engaging and successful classes. Very, very thorough. This is also in the teachers' resource center. So it's actually a PDF as well as a physical copy. In addition to the Teachers Edition, you have access to the next generation Me platform, Macmillan Education Everywhere platform. On Me, you will find an online assessment generator. You'll find Teachers Resource Center with a wealth of materials. I mean, we've listed some of them here, but there's tons and tons of extra resources that will help you optimize your teaching and really, really help you with your planning. And as I said earlier, take a lot of time away from that, allowing you to concentrate on other things. And the last part is exams. So exams aren't fun, that we all know, but if prepared, they let us show what we've learned and what we can do. If we can do it, so can you. So E is for exams. Share with Friends has a section in every unit that prepares students for success in international exams. Let's take a quick look. So many schools require their students to take a young learner exam. So these internationally benchmarked tests, they're a great way of verifying the progress and celebrating success and showing parents where their learners are on their journey of learning English. We have a dedicated exam practice page in every unit that can be used to prepare a young learner exam or just for extra practice, because it's tied into the actual language that they're studying in the book anyway. There's also extra practice in the Teachers Resource Center. And these exam practice pages are designed specifically for international exams, as I said. They cover all activity types that students are likely to see in an exam. They're very, very useful for schools that choose the British Council's primary English test as part of Macmillan's end-to-end teaching and testing solution, Advancing Achievement. We also have a versatile set of digital and print components that can be mixed and matched in packs that meet the needs of your teaching and your learning situation. So you can see we've got print, digital, you mix these together for the right way that you want to deliver your lessons. As I spoke to earlier, the Me platform contains digital students book, share books, workbooks, homework, other resources, audio, visual, games. You can assign activities to students. You can track their progress. It's fantastic in terms of managing your class through this Me platform. So I would just like to say a big thank you for staying with me. If you want to learn more about Share with Friends, you can scan the QR code here. This will take you to the Macmillan English website and will give you extra information about the Share with Friends series. If you would like someone to contact you about Share with Friends, if you really like the product, then you can scan this and give me your email and we'll have someone contact you directly. A representative from Macmillan will be in touch and will be able to help and support you with any further questions you might have about the course. So please have a look at the website and let us know if there's anything else we can support you with through your email there. If anybody's got any questions, pop them in the chat. If not, I will say a final goodbye to you and thank you very much for your presence in today's session. And I hope to see you all on Thursday, where I will be chatting to Giselle about management issues around student outcomes, learning outcomes, and student engagement. So please, I hope to see you again on Thursday for the final of our seasonal webinar sessions. See you there. Thank you all. Bye.